If you're watching this video because your pet was diagnosed with cancer and your vet said to just take them home because there's nothing that you could do, or you're mourning the loss of your previous pet and wondering what you could have done different, I'm glad you're here. That's devastating news, and I totally get it. I've been there myself. I'm Dr. Sally, and I have been a veterinarian for 20 years, and I've also lost pets to cancer. In particular, my heart dog named Linus, who was a Harlequin Great Dane. He was the best boy, and I lost him at 6 years old to lymphoma. I've also been through this with a lot of my clients and patients, and it never gets easier. The past 10 years, I've been focusing my practice on holistic medicine. And because of that, I would say that over half of my clients come to me looking for hope after their pet has been diagnosed with cancer. The bad news is, so far there is no cure for cancer, or we would all be doing it. But the good news is there are a handful of alternative options that can improve the longevity of our furry friends and also improve the quality of life, which is mainly our goal once we get the diagnosis. The therapies that I'm going to discuss can work well on their own or in conjunction with Western medicine. If you decide to go down the route of chemotherapy, these therapies can also be used in conjunction with that. I meet my clients where they're at, and we make a plan that meets the needs of the whole family, whether that includes Eastern, Western, or alternative therapies, or all of the above. Integrative medicine is actually my favorite. I've made this a two-part series because there is a ton of information to share, but this is just a summary of a handful of options that you may not be aware of. In future videos, I will break these down and go into a deeper dive on each individual subject, but today is just an overview. All of these options can be used as preventive medicine as well. So wherever you're at, if any of these resonate with you, start them today. My passion is to try and get this information out there. So I would love it if you could subscribe to my channel and watch for these upcoming videos where I individually break down each of these therapies. I've said this before, but the reason that I started a YouTube channel is because it does break my heart when people tell me that they didn't know that these were even options. So it would really mean a lot to me if you share this information with people that you know who have also been dealing with cancer with their pets. In the first part of this series, I'm going to talk about my favorite group of alternative therapies, which is Eastern medicine or Traditional Chinese Veterinary Medicine, also known as TCVM. There are 4 parts to that: Acupuncture, Chinese Herbal Therapy, Chinese Food Therapy, and Tui-na. I'm certified in acupuncture and Chinese food therapy, and I practice Chinese herbal therapy as well. I'm not certified in Tui-na, but I'm recently certified in veterinary medical manipulation, which is similar to chiropractic in humans, and I use that in place of Tui-na in my practice. In this video, I'm going to break down each of these 4 branches of TCVM. In part 2 of the series, I will break down 7 other alternative therapies that I use commonly in my practice. The first thing that I'm going to discuss is acupuncture. This is one of my favorite therapies, and this is the first thing that I was certified in and what got me interested in holistic medicine. The Chinese believe that energy moves around the body on 14 lines of energy, which are called meridians, and this energy moves in a circular pattern. Each of these meridians are associated with an organ, such as lung, liver, spleen, stomach, etc. When that circular flow of energy is interrupted, that causes an imbalance, and then that imbalance causes a disease process. Along each of these lines of energy, the goal is to balance 4 things: yin and yang, qi, and blood. In a future video strictly on acupuncture, I will discuss this more in depth, but that is the basic premise. Chinese medicine is such a deep, layered type of medicine, so you'll have to watch for a future video to explain more of that in detail. The way that I know which acupuncture points to choose depends on the history of what the owner is telling me that's going on with their pet. The Chinese diagnosis is based on a tongue and pulse diagnosis. So I look at the characteristics of the tongue, the color, the coating, and with the pulses, we look for strength, if it's fast or slow, weaker on the right or left, floating, deep. So I use all of this information to decide which acupuncture points to use. The goal of the needles is to get the energy flow back into a circular pattern with a balance of the yin and yang, qi and blood for each organ and meridian. One of the reasons I love acupuncture in animals is because they have no skepticism about it. So even if the owner is skeptical, the pet improves, there's no placebo effect. The next thing I'm going to discuss is Chinese food therapy. This is using food as medicine. I could talk for hours on this subject, so please keep an eye out for an upcoming video on Chinese food therapy alone. All foods have properties that affect the body in a different way. One of my philosophies when I'm treating a patient with cancer is to watch their appetite. If they eat better, they feel better. So if we feed them delicious whole foods, then they often feel much better, and that improves their quality of life while they're here with us. All foods have properties that affect the body in some way. For example, think of eating watermelon or cucumbers in the summer. That's really cooling to our body. And also, eating lamb stew in the winter. That's very warming. So it's the same philosophy as with acupuncture. So with food, we are trying to balance yin and yang, qi and blood. Food therapy is not a quick fix. But as I said before, if your dog or cat is eating better, they often feel better. And this is also something that you can use preventatively. I love food therapy, but I also, again, meet people where they're at. If they are able to cook the whole thing, wonderful. I'll help provide them with balanced recipes. But if that isn't something that they are able to do, even just putting in a little bit of whole food or whole food toppers really helps. Now, I will say that food is not the whole picture. I have seen dogs that have eaten probably the worst kibble out there and lived until they were 18. And I've also seen clients cook and do all the right things for their pets, and they've had a diagnosis of cancer at a young age. So there's definitely multiple factors. But again, if they're eating better, they feel better. And in cats, it's often really hard to change their diet because they're much more picky. So I typically lean towards acupuncture when I'm treating kitties with cancer. But if you happen to be starting out with a kitty and you're watching this video, I would suggest trying to use fresh meats or canned meats or all different types of textures of dry and canned and gently cooked foods, just to give them different types of exposures to different textures of foods. The hope is this will help you in the long run if we want to try and use food later in life as a therapy. The third thing I'm going to discuss is Chinese herbal therapy. This is typically known as acupuncture in a bottle. This therapy works really well in conjunction with acupuncture, but it can also be used alone, especially if the patient doesn't particularly like the needles. When we use acupuncture and herbal therapy and food therapy together, there is a more profound effect. But again, we pick and choose what's best for that patient and their family. Just like with the other therapies of TCVM, the goal is to balance yin and yang, qi and blood. And we use herbal concoctions to do just that. And if you're using Chinese food therapy, you sprinkle the herbs in there and the pets don't even notice. However, this is a little more tricky with cats. The last aspect of TCVM that I will talk about is Tui-na. Tui-na is Chinese massage. This is a really cool therapy that can be used by pet owners at home. I am not currently certified in this because we did have a canine massage therapist working here, but now she's only available by appointment only. But I was recently certified in veterinary medical manipulation, which is similar to chiropractic in humans. The goal of these therapies is to keep the joints, soft tissue, and fascia moving, which keeps the nervous system stimulated, which keeps the body in a place to function at its optimum health. This is definitely not the crack pop nonsense that you see on social media. All of these three therapies uses deep tissue manipulation and very small, high velocity, low amplitude adjustments, which is safe for our pets. Stiffness and stagnation and immobility equals disease. So the point of these therapies is to keep everything moving, which supports the nervous system in the appropriate way. I plan to make a video specifically about medical manipulation, so watch for that in the near future. I hope the information in this video gave you some hope, and just a reminder, the goal of these therapies is to improve the quality of life of your pet If you choose one therapy or all of the above, I guarantee your pet will feel better regardless of their diagnosis. Part 2 of this video will be coming out very soon, so watch for that as well, where I talk about 7 more alternative therapies that are available. If you're interested in discussing more of this, I offer online consults on the Direct Health for Patients app. So download that app and then you enter the code B as in boy, ARCLEA 475, and I'd love to discuss this further with you.